it was made up out of beer tubing, like big beer tubing, an oxygen tank, and cheesecloth. So $15, he solved this problem. And that was the standard for heart surgery for decades before different devices were made. Just such a cool example of how cross-industry can really help each other. We're talking about, a mechanic, a heart surgeon, and a dairy farmer solving an insane problem together. And the only reason why they were able to do that is because they had that really specific question. On this show, we're going to sit down and talk about the metamorphosis that happens when you become a leader.
We'll share our biggest wins and our losses and interview other leaders to find out how they stay in charge without losing their minds.
I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Zach. Welcome to the Who's in Charge podcast. What is up, love?
Hello.
Hey. So today I wanted to talk about something because I've talked a lot about this podcast about the benefits of being in groups, like getting around like-minded people, doing like-minded things, and how it really can accelerate your growth. It opens you up to see things in your industry and in your business that maybe you didn't see, that other people that have been doing it longer, doing it a little bit different, have already done, right? And so I think there's such a huge benefit to accelerating your growth that way. But today I kind of want to hit the other side of it, the idea of like how that can sometimes create a ceiling and create an echo chamber of like, yeah, we're all doing, the same things. We're all just trying to talk to the same people. And it kind of just becomes this echo chamber where everybody's doing, what are you doing? I'm doing the same thing. I think you'd agree that you see that as, within groups.
For sure. I think, and I think we kind of got to that point with, a group that we were in a long time ago. We were just like, I feel like we're all kind of stuck. We're gonna break out of this thing and get exposure to other things. And I think maybe the best way to avoid getting into an echo chamber is not doing just specific industry type things. Like they have a place, do it. Collective Geniuses change our lives. I love Collective Genius so much. It's the best real estate investment group I've ever been a part of. But on the other side, I feel like I took a lot out of being part of SaaS Academy and like just learning about way different types of businesses and people running transportation businesses, and also just engaging with other businesses as a consumer. Like, what does that experience look like? And that's interesting how they think about that or run that. So I think getting out of your industry vertical can sometimes really help you bring fresh ideas and some creativity into what you're doing in your business, And
I think it could be difficult to do. I mean, we all like to think that we're pretty great, in doing great things, but to humbly be able to sit there and take a look back and be like, all right, maybe there's a better way to do it. And I don't mean this like in a despairingly way, but like there's a lower bar to entry for our industry in the real estate world than there is to running a hospital, to starting your own airplane company. You know what I mean? Something different, right? Like we have just a different bar. And then with that, the competition levels can be different. Like the competition in competing for attention and for customers for Delta versus United Airlines is a little bit different than, the competition for trying to buy Betty's house, right? And so go ahead.
I think our bar is still a lot higher than a lot of other industries too. Like, how difficult is it to start a social media presence? And like, right, everybody can do that. We all have cell phones. So it's definitely not the lowest bar of entry, but it definitely is different than, it's definitely different than other industries.
And it's raised a lot, right? Especially as we've been in an increasing, an increasing market, right? Where an increasing market gathers a lot of attention and a lot of eyes. And it's brought in a lot of, we haven't talked about it, I don't think, on this podcast, but the idea of that change and shift when iBuyers started to come in, right? Yeah. It was just us going against, our neighbor to try to buy the house was one thing. And then as you started to get some of these iBuyers in here, there's a lot of more money. And so now we are having to compete, like you said, at that higher level. The bar of entry is no longer as low, but it requires us then, I think, like we're talking about for this podcast, the idea of like, we got to think outside of what have we done in the past of just going and showing up and knocking on somebody's door and sending some, baloney letter to somebody. Like, what do we do to kind of raise the bar? And for me, I really like to, I don't know how everybody feels about the Chick-fil-A, but the Chick-fil-A experience is really one of those experiences that I take a look at and say, all right, outside of our industry, like, what is that? And that is it is a really dialed in company that set a standard, expectations, and a culture. When you're going to go to language, right? You know what to expect when you go in. Every Chick-fil-A store relatively seems the same, operates the same. You're met with the same level of enthusiasm. Like you said, like language, you have a language to use. And it really makes me come back into our company and think like, what's our customer experience for the first 2 minutes of their environment? What is the language that we're using? I think it can become easy for any industry probably as you're doing the same thing over and over every day. You said hi now to the 100th customer, but that 100th customer, that's their first interaction with you. Is your interaction with the 100th customer as good at that same level of expectation as what your first customer of the day was set at? And so I like to look at those type of industries to see what type of processes can we bring in? How are we managing your first interactions with the company? All the way to the idea of the drive-thru. Look at how many iterations of drive-thrus we've seen in the last, the last year or two. I feel like it used to be a standard drive-thru, and then all of a sudden they came up with 2 windows, and then they're going out there with iPads. Like they're constantly saying, what is the bottleneck to the business? What is the customer experience? What's everybody's complaint? It takes too long for my fast food. How can I get it quicker? And so it makes me come back to think to our business, like where are these bottlenecks when we're looking at, the time it takes you to fill out a form, to actually show up at the closing table? What are those bottlenecks and how can we improve our experience?
I think Chick-fil-A is interesting because it's probably the first fast food company, at least in my own awareness, that cross-pollinated to a different industry first. They really cross-pollinated with the hospitality industry. Yeah. The kind of drive-through experience is very similar to the hotel check-in experience, where there's like potentially someone waiting, or you're not just waiting in line. Like I've been at a Marriott before where the desks were all busy, so somebody came up and asked me something, right? Or even the little thing with hospitality where they, instead of giving you the room key over top of the counter, they come around the corner and give it to you. Like the Chick-fil-A drive-through pickup, they come out and hand it to you, right? They don't just like lean over and drop it. There's almost like this proximity thing that they've accomplished as part of that. And they've also approached how people wait, like hospitality. So instead of sitting in line, having not engaged with the service, the restaurant, they come to you and take your order. So even though you're waiting, you perceived to have been further along in the process because you gave your order. You may wait the same amount of time, but you got to the piece where you gave an order first before you got your food, right? So I think that's been really interesting to see them adapt to hospitality like that. And I think a lot of other fast food restaurants took note. And I think that truly the success in being able to cross-pollinate, I think, is asking the right question, for like formulating a question, I should say, first. So instead of just what can I learn from another industry, what is the problem that you're trying to solve first? So it may be the wait time or the perception in the drive-through is your problem. And like, okay, well, how do I improve perceived wait time? Looking at hospitality, looking at hospitals, looking at all these things can help you see how people are specifically trying to answer that question instead of keeping it super broad.
Yeah. I think you're really good at that, at finding the problems and finding solutions.
Look at me, finding problems. Like
nom 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 nom, eating them for breakfast. Nom nom nom. What I think is really cool about looking outside is because once somebody, their research and development budgets in these other companies are a lot bigger than my research and development budget, right? To be able to find problems and implement the solutions. But once you could see a solution, it's like, oh, that seems so obvious, right? To be able, like you said, to be able to have somebody go and take that order. Because I'm going to argue with you there. I don't think it's just about perceived, which I do think is a big benefit, right? The perceived wait time. Now I've locked you in. You've got nowhere to go. You've already put the order in. But like, I guarantee that it's also improving their wait times. It's increasing the amount of time they have to be able to make the food for you. Once in a while, like McDonald's, if you order a damn chicken at McDonald's, for some reason that takes them so much longer. So now you're stuck at the end of the pull around. You're going to have to wait some more time. Like, I've already done waited all this time, and now I got to pull around to wait some more.
They collect the orders like in stacks, so they can probably prioritize how they're making their meals instead of just one at a time. They can say, like, these are the 5 we need to prepare next. Yeah, I get it's really good. I know you're going to cringe when I tell my story, this little story. You know what story I'm going for?
I think I was going to actually have you start us off with that story. And then just a reminder that we're not all as nerdy as you are. So the abridged version.
Let me just give you my favorite innovation. I'm going to keep it brief.
It's become one of my favorite stories as well. It's really good. Go ahead.
I am so inspired by this. This is the exact example of like cross-pollinating different industries to solve a problem. That's why I love it so much. So, okay, I'll try to keep it brief so I don't bore all the other non-nerds out there besides you. But I think a really cool example of this is way back in the day in the 1950s. There was this heart surgeon named Dr. Walt Lillehei. There's a whole book on this guy, and his story is known as like the father of open heart surgery. I think the name of the book is The King of Hearts. Super cool to read this book and kind of hear how really heart surgery was revolutionized. But super long story short, heart surgery prior to around this time, like late 40s, early 50s, was really just all you could really do was like field injuries. Like there was, World War I, World War II in a short period of time there, the beginning in the 1900s. And really the only time people did any chest surgery was when someone got shot in the chest. So hearts were really elusive to surgeons because they're difficult problems to solve and they need to be beating to live, right? So Dr. Walt Lillehei was trying to figure out a way to solve holes in the heart, VSDs, ASDs, and try to save babies' lives because those are holes in the heart between the different chambers of your heart. And so it was so sad because at this time, these babies were being born and they were either stillborn or they were dying shortly after they were born, and they would do autopsies and see that it was just like the simplest stitch to make, like a stitch, 2 stitches inside the heart to solve the problem and potentially save this baby's life. But you couldn't open the heart to do surgery because you would bleed out and the heart needed to be beating. So anyway, he figures out a way to do this. He figures out a way to oxygenate the blood properly, but it was having a problem with bubbles. So again, I'm trying to keep it relatively brief so I don't bore everybody. But he did some cool things with like cross circulation and like basically reinvented the umbilical cord with mom and baby, and was able to do surgery because hooked up a tube to mom, and mom or dad were providing the blood flow to the baby and fix the heart, blah, blah, blah. So he had some early success, and they figured I can't keep hooking up 2 people and having a potential 200% mortality for surgery. I got to figure out a way to not require a human to pump the blood while I'm operating on the baby. So the next problem was, how do I oxygenate the blood? And he was able to oxygenate the blood well by putting the blood under pressure and spinning it around and exposing it to an oxygen tank. But when doing that, there was so much turbulence that was creating all these bubbles in the tubing. So this was the problem that he was trying to solve. There's bubbles in the tubing, and I can't put bubbles into the baby, right? Because we've all seen those horror movies, what happens when you have air and arteries. So he's trying to figure out, how do I solve this specific problem? And that's why I get so excited about it, is because he took this really large problem of how do I do open heart surgery and have somebody survive, and like slowly made it more specific, and gets to this point where it's so specific that I'm able to accomplish a lot of the stuff, but I'm just struggling with these bubbles. So this is in like Minnesota, small town Minnesota, and he's this real fancy heart surgeon. And at that time, like these people are glorified, right? They still are, but like even more so then. And he's got a friend who's a mechanic, and they're working on this machine together to try to figure out how to oxygenate it. And his friend's friend is a dairy farmer. And so they are just like talking in their community about this specific problem, like as friends. And the dairy farmer says, duh, yeah, we this happens with us too, with the cows. We use cheesecloth.
You dummies, we've been doing this for years.
Right? Like we saw that problem decades ago. We use cheesecloth, and that helps get the bubbles out of the tubing so that we can, it doesn't like burst the tubing and pressure issues and blah, blah, blah for the dairy farmers. So Dr. Lillehei's like, duh, cheesecloth. Maybe I can do the same thing with blood and with humans. And so he ends up making a super simple machine to be able to oxygenate blood. It cost like $15 at the time. It was made up out of beer tubing, like big beer tubing, an oxygen tank, and cheesecloth. So $15, He solved this problem. And that was the standard for heart surgery for decades before different devices were made. So just such a cool example of how cross industry can really help each other. We're talking about, a mechanic, a heart surgeon, and a dairy farmer solving a insane problem together. And the only reason why they were able to do that is because they had that really specific question. He didn't ask the dairy farmer, how do I do heart surgery? He asked the dairy farmer, how do I get bubbles out of the tubing? So coming back to what we're talking about here and like getting out of our own comfort zones and exposing ourselves to other industries and trying to see what we can garner from them. I think it's the most productive when we have a specific thing that we need to solve for, instead of just what can I learn? And I think both are good. I think even you can even start formulating questions when you just observe how other businesses are run, like we do when we're consumers and we're at Chick-fil-A thinking about, oh, this is different now. But I think it can be super productive to ask different industries specific questions. So to bring it back to real estate, I think kind of a really cool thing to ask other industries, and specifically, I've talked to some car dealerships. It's like, what mail pieces do you mail? How do you get people to bring in there? How do you buy these used cars? Like, we're buying kind of used houses, if you will, or like trying to get a good deal on a house. These guys are trying to get a good deal on a car, and the car industries also have auctions, just like there's auctions in the residential space, real estate space. So it's been really interesting to talk to those folks and hear what mail pieces they're mailing and how they approach formulating an offer and trying to figure out what it is that they can pay and how do they resell that car later and bring it into like a retail process versus trade-ins, and like what their whole workflow is around offers and marketing to cars, or centered around cars.
I mean, first of all, it sounds like a joke. A farmer, a mechanic, and a thoracic surgeon walk into a bar.
Right.
But yeah,
in 1952 or whatever it was.
I do like that story though. And and so with the car industry, right, we've kind of looked at them for a couple different things, even into our sales process with the idea of like I said, making offers. And when you go and you're dealing with a salesperson, is the salesperson signing the docs in a car industry? Like, no, like they're negotiating, and it's like, hold on, let me go talk to the boss man back here. And I swear they don't do anything back there. They go back there, they play some ping pong, and they drink a sip of coffee, and they're like, those schmucks are out there waiting for an hour for us to work some numbers. And then we come back, right? And they do that, over and over again. And so there's times that we've used that into our sales process, not to make people wait for an hour. But
car dealers have cross-pollinated with the DMV.
Oh,
like, we're just going to make these people wait until they snap, and then they'll buy something.
Yeah, which will let me skip forward to the next point that I was going to get at. So yes, we have used a lot of those different things from my car dealers in with some success. But like what you're going to look for, right? Sometimes you'll have a very specific problem and you can go out and bring it out. But just I always want to sit with this humility of like, where can I get better? And the areas that you should always be open to, like, is this an area for improvement, are the things that stand out. So as you're walking around in the world, what are you like, holy crap, this was an exceptional experience, or this made me feel exceptionally well. And like, are we doing that? So kind of like we talked about, like the Chick-fil-A experience, or the pain experience of like, I want to kill someone. This friggin' sucks. Like the DMV is a good example. It's like, what area of my business can people be looking like I'm the DMV? And I feel like sometimes we can get that in delays in getting an offer. We have these conversations probably weekly, right? Like, they contacted us for an offer. Did we get them the freaking offer or not? Why do they have to wait so long to be able to get an offer, right? And so continuing that experience. And it's the biggest thing I want to push on here is the humility that you have to have, because we all think we're great and we all think we're doing things, and we're doing things the way that we always have. Again, going back to the Chick-fil-A experience, every drive-thru has been run the same damn way for 100 years. Well, maybe not 100, but every drive-thru has been, the same way forever. And, that concept of walking around with an iPad, somebody had to break out of the box to have that idea.
First they started outside of that. Remember, people used to have like the roller skaters come out and bring your food.
Right, while you were waiting. Yeah.
Roll up, put your car window down and get a little tray hooked up to your window. We need to go back to that.
But yeah, so looking for some of those like exceptional experiences and then some of those really painful experiences and bringing them back into your company. Like, am I possible that I'm making other people have this same crap experience that I just had? And what can we do to change it? That pain, that anger, that'll get Stephanie going. Find something that angers her about another business and she can bring it back and be like, let's not do this.
I know. I feel like I see these opportunities everywhere now too, once we start trying to solve things for ourselves. Like we were talking the other day about the deli counter at the grocery store. Oh, it's like, why can't you just put, first of all, everything should just be pre-sliced, like for the day, pre-slice, oven gold turkey from Boar's Head.
I want the turkey and the cheese. I bought the same damn thing for the last 5 years.
But everybody buys those. Everybody buys those two things. Just have a pre-packaged and half pound and pound things. Like, and I feel like some grocery stores have come around to that. But then why can't I just put an order in on a screen somewhere and then walk away and finish my stuff? Why do I have to sit there and wait and talk to you and watch you slice it? And yes, that's the right thickness. Like, there should be better ways of putting orders in. So I can move on. It's not wait there for 20 minutes to get all my orders done and have the teenager be like, oh, they want another one while everyone else is waiting.
So Kroger and Harris Teeter, are you listening, folks? Are you like you go into what is it? McDonald's, right? McDonald's, you don't have to talk to anybody. You just put your order in. And so literally the technology is all there. And it's like, it reminds me of, was it Jeff Bezos in the damn, the ticket line, right? To be able to have the little, that wasn't Jeff Hoffman. My bad. The other
Jeff Hoffman. Jeff Hoffman with ticketing counters at airports. Yeah, those kiosks. Exactly, 100%. Like what? Right? Yeah.
Bring the kiosk in. Let's get it done.
I feel like we've taken some of those concepts and brought them into real estate in the sense that, all right, now we finally got a contract. I signed the deal. What other things do I need from you? Let's just get them all at the same time. Instead of me having to call you later, I need your seller information sheet, or, I'm going to call you at some point to schedule closing and remote notaries and who else needs to sign and your IDs and all these things. I feel like that experience of just being out there, being a consumer, knowing that this is going to take several steps, doing it all in one go. Okay. You're going to sign the contract. Fantastic. The next step is your seller information sheet. We're going to give that to the title company or the attorney, depending on what state you're in. Right. And then let's make sure, do you have an ID? Can you find it? Because how many times on closing day you're like, I don't know what my ID is, or it's expired and the notary can't use them. And, so I think it's been helpful to kind of bring in some of the downstream process that we know that we're going to have to get from them later. All at the same time, when we have an engaged party, I think has been super, super helpful.
I'm triggered that you need an ID for these people to do a closing, but okay, we'll keep moving.
What do you mean? You don't think they shouldn't have an ID?
I'm just bringing us into a political land that we shouldn't be in. Circle us back in. Yeah, who needs IDs?
You need an ID. You need an ID that's not expired to be able to sell your house and sign a notary. A notary needs it to be valid. So, and I don't blame them. There's so much fraud.
Oh my goodness. I agree. I'm just joking.
But anyway, the point is, can we get these things sooner in the process so that we're ready? You see things like that happen in the healthcare space too. Like before you meet with your physician, your provider, whoever, you have a blood pressure reading. You have a couple things done. You filled out a questionnaire. Whether they read the questionnaire is another thing. But like you filled out some stuff to kind of prepare so that when you have that visit, it's very effective, right? So like, how can we take some of those things together and bring that into real estate? Yeah.
I know we talk about medicine a lot, but I think of, when we were doing the medical world and you're going to give people their discharge paperwork, there was such a huge focus on like, you need your discharge paperwork so that a third grader can read it, Right. And I think we're into this technical world and legal jargon and all these sort of things and having people sign contracts that if you have a contract that's written by an attorney, like you need a translator to get it into, words that people can understand. And it's a pretty important thing.
Yeah. And I think people forget too. So if you have a leave behind, if you're on a real estate appointment, you have a leave behind. So there's a little folder with all the things that are going to happen next. So if you don't remember, because we just had a lot of words together today and we just spent 2 hours and we went through all the family history and all the stuff that brought you to this place where you're selling your house. Now we have a leave behind where you can read it if you forgot.
Super good.
Because it's an overwhelming process. So those are things that we've seen in other industries that I feel like have slowly kind of come into the real estate investment space. And the same thing happened with REITs when real estate investment trusts started, or the iBuyers, like you said, when they started coming into the space. I think they brought like offers at scale, and they kind of took a page from Wall Street in the sense of data driving all of their decisions, having it be super formulaic, and essentially just go on a website and get an offer instantly. So they I think have really changed the game for all of us to keep up and have underlying data that allows us to make really quick decisions and serve these homeowners even faster.
Right. Do you remember my favorite customer experience stories? I think I made the whole team watch them.
Just give them the pickle.
Give them the pickle. And it's such a funny.
I think you just like to say pickle too.
It's all the P words. I'm going to bring them into every podcast. Anyways. So give them the pickle. And the thing that I think about with give them the pickle. So if anybody's never seen it, man, it's been 20 years probably since I watched the video originally. And essentially customer came in, he would order, I want to say it was a burger place. He would order a burger or a sandwich spot. And every time he'd order a sandwich, he'd be like, hey, can I get a pickle? And they'd give him a pickle. And the guy was, a regular. He shopped there every damn day. We'd go get a sandwich. Can I get a pickle? They'd give him a pickle. And then one day there was a change of manager, and he'd come in and say, hey, can I get a pickle? And they'd be like, no, we don't give away pickles.
Like 25 cents.
Right. Yeah. And it was such a huge deal that the guy wrote into the owner of the company and told him the whole story. And the owner's like, what the hell? This wasn't what I thought was happening. And had to come in and be like, give him the damn pickle. He was going to lose this customer for life because he didn't give him a 25-cent pickle or whatever it was. And so really it's just the idea. And so the hallmark of it is, what do you have in your industry, in your position even? What is your position in the company? And what can you do to bring the customer the pickle? And the first time I ever watched this, I think I was doing CAT scans. If anybody's ever had a CAT scan in the hospital, it's cold as all get out in there. And I ask you basically to get naked and put on a little tiny gown and have your booty hanging out.
You always come back with a naked story.
Oh, well, true to consistency is important, right? Yeah. Anyways, so if you've ever been in there, it's a cold hospital and you're essentially naked, you got this thing on, you're cold. And so one of my pickles for these, see, now I've actually reverted back to customers. I used to call everybody patients. Now I'm calling everybody clients. But for these patients, it sucks. So bring them not just a blanket, but a warm blanket. How hard is it to make sure that you have blankets in the warmer? And when you're cold and scared and whatever else, and somebody puts a 120-degree blanket on you, it is heaven.
That's good medicine.
And it's just a tiny thing. And what I love about this, this story and the give him the pickle story is he then went on to use this give him the pickle story to train across all sorts of industries, right? It wasn't like he just went to hospitals, right? He goes into all different industries because we all are dealing with one thing: customer expectations, and how can we improve that?
Also, customer delight. That's an amazing experience, right? In this case, there was an expectation. He wanted the pickle, and it's not a big deal. Just give him the pickle. Don't charge him 25 cents. He comes in here every freaking day, right? Don't upcharge that guy. But also kind of like you said, is turned into this delight thing. It's nice to get a pickle on the side. It's nice to get a warm blanket. So what if we just do that super low cost thing to delight a customer?
Right. And so just encouraging people to look out. If he can use this training video to train every industry in the world, right, then you can also learn from every industry. How can you improve your customer experience and improve your customer retention? So just be on the lookout for those things.
I think this is really hard. And it's funny because I think sometimes the little topics that we have here kind of stir up some recent stuff too. But kind of the story, just to go back to the pickle, is there was this precedent, right? The guy just got it. It's not a big deal. And then there was this change of staff or change of ownership. And then now there's a policy that it costs more. So was the waitress wrong and saying, oh, it's 25 cents? No, they were following the policy. That's totally fine. But how do we build for, how do we institute policies? We have a consistent experience, but then still know when the right time to pivot is, what is the threshold where you're I'm going to bend the rule for you. This is not a normal thing, but this is what we're going to do. I think that part, that like finesse part, is super challenging to get right. And I think what's also really difficult about the day and age of customer expectations is that everybody wants that. And I'll say on the left main side, all my customers are negotiators, right? Like
I was going to say, every single one of your people are negotiating, in the exception. We are all the exception.
You are the most difficult person because you will negotiate everything, and a rule is not really a rule, and every rule is meant to be broken. So it's like, it's so hard to have rules and then to know when to wiggle, because if you wiggle for one person, you got to wiggle for 700 people, and then you just lose all process altogether. So it's so hard to establish that and to hold that line. And on the other end, on the investment company end, these people just don't, like, they don't even tell you what the potential problem is. So it's hard to even know what's happening. And then they're so inconsistent and unreliable in responding. A lot of the times, like, take a typical foreclosure, like active foreclosure auction property. These people have gone through a lot. They've probably have multiple creditors calling them, right? So it's probably not just the house. There's probably personal stuff going on. There's probably multiple different layers of financial stuff going on. They just stop responding. They stop answering their phone after a while. They stop opening their mail because everything is negative, and they're just trying to cope. So in order to serve that customer, I feel like everything's an exception. Every deal is different. There's lots to traverse every single time. So it's even hard to put policy together there, just because everything is so different, and there's a customer that's really difficult to engage with. So I think no matter, we all may want to delight the customer, and of course we do. Of course we're here to solve problems and make everybody happy. But I think just saying that is, in reality, is way more difficult than it is to just say, just throw in the pickle for free, you know?
Yeah. I think delight is a pretty good word, because it's like, I mean, that's up there. That's a bar to hit, to delight. You know what I mean? Not just like get them through the line, right? But to leave with a delight. It's a tough bar to hit.
And I think particularly this week, like, I love to do that. I want to make everybody so happy. I feel so personally invested. I will just kind of speak to the left main side. Like, I feel so personally invested. I'm just like, our team really cares. We kind of partner with you in your business and getting you onboarded and like making sure you learn. And if you have a problem, we're trying to be as quick as we can. And it becomes really difficult to still not be able to achieve that and have to tell somebody no, like when they ask and ask and ask, or like want to break the rule, or I feel like I can take it personal and be like, but I did everything I said I was going to do, and I did go above and beyond, and you still have this ancillary thing that like we can't get over. I just it's really challenging.
It's hard, and especially when you're, when you've developed it, right? You've put your blood, sweat, and tears, everything you have into it, and you've put it in with that expectation to delight and to realize that like nobody shoots 100. There's the best products in the world.
Yeah.
And like they don't have 100% 5-star reviews. There's people that are pissed about Apple. There's people that are pissed about Android. There's people that are pissed about their Lambo. Like, I don't know.
Pissed about their Lambo. I think what's hard too is once you put a team in place and you do have folks around you that are helping you and running the process, is they get to feel all the goodness, and you as a leader now only get a lot of the most difficult problems. Like it doesn't get to you. Like, obviously we hear and we reviews, and like you're not disconnected from the customer experience, of course, but to a certain level, the problems that are hard to solve don't stop at the person. They don't stop until they get to you eventually, and so it can feel very overwhelming. Of like, these are difficult problems to solve now. Like, how do we? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's an important one. I've had to remind myself that many times of like, this is the position that you hold.
Yes.
This is, you know what I mean? This is why you're in this position, because it's your burden to bear. I think just kind of like pulling this all together, because I think we can also do this. We can overtrain our sales team. There's so much information out there. I do think you can learn from everyone out there. You can learn from every industry to bring something back in, but then it can also be overwhelming of what do you pull in. So, kind of that discernment piece of like, you're not going to change everything. And quite frankly, we talked before about the 0.002 second loss, right? Like you're not missing out on deals because you're in the, total wrong ballpark. Like, you're talking about micro changes, micro shifts in a business that can make all the difference in the world. I was just listening to a guy that was a previous pitcher, and he was, long story short, he's getting ready to lose the game. Bases are loaded. Coach comes out. And he didn't give him a big pep up talk speak. He didn't tell him to get his shit together. He said, "Show me your slider." And he held the ball and he moved his finger an eighth of an inch on the ball, proceeded to strike out the next three players. And so in your business, you don't have to rehaul everything. You don't have to go to Chick-fil-A and, document everything and take down every one of their processes and try to make that into your business. Like, is there an eighth of an inch change that you can come back? Because we all are in this echo chamber. We all have the same processes, but how you implement those processes, how you deliver those processes can be the difference between massive success and just getting by.
Oh yeah. I think that's so compelling to know that you can be right, but just off by just a little bit and lose. And the same thing is true on the other end. You just have to be just a little bit better to win so many more deals. Just get there a little bit sooner. I'm also feel very inspired by like the Tamiflu industry. You take this pill and you get better on average at the end of the course of treatment about a day sooner. Like, your symptoms resolve about a day sooner. And this whole industry exploded around that. Like, I don't have time to be sick. I need to take Tamiflu. And then in general, compared to placebo, you get better 24 hours sooner. So, when we ran our annual planning for a better path this year, that was kind of the focus of like, how do we get one day better? If this is $1 billion industry that's selling this medicine so people can feel better for one day on average, our customers feel that same thing. Like, they're in a distressed situation. They need to sell this house. Timing is really relevant. How can we get better by a day? How can we close a day sooner? How can we get to the appointment a day sooner? How can we get to the lead sooner than we were before, and cut down the whole cycle time? And that focus has made the cash conversion cycle obviously way shorter. We're closing on deals more consistently and more frequently. And it's all just literally trying to find a day sooner in the entire process. So that little teeny tweaks, like you're saying, can really make a really, really giant difference in your production and your satisfaction with your customers, and also, the solvency of your business potentially.
Yeah.
All right. So thinking about that, let's bring it back to today and this week and real life again. Well, it's all real life, but
this is my life.
This is our life. What was something that you saw in the past week or so as a consumer or patient or whatever that you were like, we should do that at Better Path. We should do that in our company.
All right. Yeah. So I was working, shout out to Jordan Smartphone. So once in a while I have questions and issues. I tend to have a bad memory with tech stuff. So sometimes I just need help with a problem for the fourth time that I've already asked. And so, when you go on to their website to ask a question, they have a really good integrated AI with human supplementation support system, right? So I can go on there. I don't have to wait until there's, a human that's ready to handle. Like, honestly, like, I don't know, 90% of my questions are always answered by like this AI chatbot that says like, hey, here's what the issue is. Here's the article that tells you what to fix. And then if it's not, then it says, it connects me essentially to the human that I can either sit there and wait for, or they can email me back. And so for me, that just was such a convenient experience as a consumer that it made me think back to like, all right, when somebody comes onto our website and they have a question, like, what are they getting for live support? And, we don't get a ton of web traffic. I can't have somebody just sitting here on a keyboard 24 hours a day waiting to answer a question that may never come, right? But to have that kind of integrated process really made me think of like, do I have an AI chat that can answer the most frequently commonly, answered questions, answers, on our system.
Questions asked.
There we go. I knew it was an A word. Questions asked. And so, I appreciate that and kind of looking at what our options are there.
Yeah, I love it. I think that what I love about business in general is that it is so universally available to us to learn from. Like, just go out into the world and collect this information from you as somebody passing through the world. There's so many business lessons to take from that, from just engaging with the outside world, and opinions that you form on what you like and what you didn't like, and where gaps could potentially be in your business or what your ideas are. I think that's what's really encouraging, is we can just go out there into the university of real life and bring back so much interesting insights. But you have to be open-minded enough to go out there and have a kind of a fresh perspective of how you can apply something that you went through. I just love that about business in general, is that you can translate that into something and then do your own good, right? Like, you can establish what you think is good and then make it better and better, and just from life experience of living.
Now more than ever, always be learning, always be improving. Or somebody else is coming for your milkshake.
Don't drink my milkshake. All right. Till next time, go out there and go out there and live your life and see the little things that you experience, and see you'll be shocked at how many of those little things you can apply to your business or to your dreams, potentially even your family.
1% better every day.